Welcome to a brand new NFL episode of the Bull Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. You know the man next to me, the Austin Hill. Look at us, both wearing like button-up shirts. Looks like we almost got
Yeah,
done, just recently got done teaching or something. That's crazy.
yeah, agreed. Almost like we had
But
a
welcome
long
to
day.
the yes, don't tell me about it, man. But welcome to this NFL episode of the Bull Take Podcast. If you haven't already, college football episode. Fun fact, literally came out an hour after we are recording this. So go give that a watch or listen wherever you listen to our episodes weekly, as that's out now. We talk MLB playoffs as well in that one to go along with college football, and of course the Sam Pittman firing, which, let's address what it is. We already got two game threes in the wild card, Austin, that are guaranteed for tomorrow. Should be interesting. I guess I didn't get to see any of the Padres Cubs game. I didn't know how that went for them.
Game one, awesome. Cubs killed it. Game two, not so awesome if you're a Cubs fan, but look, teams look pretty evenly matched. Game three is going to be an awesome game tomorrow.
Yes, it is. I look forward to sneaking in looks every now and then as I'm teaching. I'll just be like, okay, what's the score? What are we looking at? But
Yep.
yeah, if you want to hear our MLB predictions for the playoffs, go get that episode to listen as well. Again, talking about with college football. But let's dive into NFL right away, not waste any time. Another interesting week for the Shield, to say the least. And let's start it with our annual biggest winners and losers from this week. And let's start with the good ones. The biggest winner from this past week in the NFL. Austin, who do you got?
I think my biggest winner, I'm going to give it to the New York Giants. Look, this is a team we were talking about just a week ago. I said verbatim, had Jaxson Dart played in the game last week, the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-3 coming into this week. And I'm going to say it, the New York Giants backed up my talk. They came out, they played an excellent game against the AFC West leading Chargers, who look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They shut down Justin Herbert, and Jaxson Dart looked awesome in this offense with the same pieces Russell Wilson had a week ago. So no excuse, actually less pieces because Tyrone Tracy is out with injury.
Yeah.
Actually less pieces, but comes out here, gets the job done. I say hats off to the New York Giants for looking and saying, hey, we've got to make a change because we can still do some stuff this season. We've got a decent team, and we've got a good rookie quarterback. And I'm glad that they buy into a guy who is more than deserving of being the starting quarterback and comes out and he backs it up with a great game one performance.
Absolutely. My biggest winner, I'm going to give it to a team I didn't know if I was going to be saying coming into the week. Jacksonville. Look, whether we think Jacksonville is good or not, they're a 3-1 football team. They got to win over the 49ers on the road, get to 3-1. You got a chance this Monday night to get a, don't want to say it's a major statement because there's certain teams at 2-2, but at least a pretty decent statement if you can go out and beat that team in the AFC. So to get a win over the Niners here, get to 3-1. Again, do we really know how good the Jags are with this 3-1? In all honesty, they should be 4-0 because they should have beaten Cincinnati. But congrats to them on that. Biggest loser. Oh boy, Austin, there are several good candidates for this one. Who do you guys biggest loser?
Do I get to say my fantasy team, my dynasty league team that I traded for Tyreek Hill in a couple weeks ago? Look, I'll give it
Uh,
this. Tyreek Hill gave me two really good weeks of football. I wish his knee had stayed intact, but in all seriousness, we'll be looking out for Tyreek Hill. But I'm going to go to another Monday night game and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. This was atrocious. This offensive line played terrible. Look, you wonder why Joe Burrow spends so much time injured for this team. This offensive line used four guys to block one player, and actually three guys to block one player, and the two tackles got beat by the D ends. And Jake Browning was sacked in split second. I don't know what to tell you, but if you cannot protect your quarterback, whether it's against the Denver Broncos, the Dallas Cowboys, whoever you play, if you cannot protect your quarterback, you will not win another game this season. This Bengals team, as well as the Houston Texans, who had a very similar highlight come from their game, but at least they won their game.
mm,
Look, you've got to protect your quarterback. The success of this team already hampered with no Joe Burrow, one of the best talents at the quarterback position in the NFL. And now you're asking his backup, Jake Browning, to get the job done and have no time to get the ball out. They've got to clean it up in Cincinnati. We talk about the great start. I know you're missing Joe Burrow, but this team is way better than the way they played Monday night.
I was about to say, I'll be honest with you though. They're missing Joe Burrow. Based on their performance, could he really help out that much? Based on where
Agreed.
where's this roster's at? Like, don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow's good, but like, is he going to save every single problem? Is he going to save the problem of the defense not being able to cover the pass coverage whatsoever? I don't think so. I'll stay in the same division as you and a team we're going to talk about in a second. The Baltimore Ravens. Wow. Could not have had a worse start. Pretty much you get blown out by the Chiefs, and now your entire starting defense is injured, pretty much. And also your starting quarterback, who we're going to get to on that in just a little bit. But the Ravens, definitely the biggest loser. We're going to go over some of the games from this past week really quick here. Let's talk about a couple here. First off, Seattle getting the win over Arizona 23-20. Me and you both had our questions about Arizona coming into this game. Through three quarters, this was a game Arizona was getting dominated in. Seattle was dominating them. Marvin Harrison couldn't catch anything. He looked like Deontay Johnson out there, dropping passes left and right. Then, fourth quarter, Seattle up by 2 scores. They just decided, okay, now we're going to try to play. Kyler got red hot. Marvin Harrison started catching everything. They were able to tie the game up. Then you had the kickoff mishap of not getting the kick to the landing zone, getting the penalty to start Seattle at the 40. They kick the walk-off field goal to get the win and go to 3-1. So I guess my question is, we kind of hinted at talking about with the Cardinals, and now with the news that Trey Benson is on IR for the next 4 weeks with a knee injury. Thoughts on where this Cardinals team sits at 2-2, and obviously give credit where credit's due. Seattle now a 3-1 football team.
Yeah, look, I think Seattle's done a great job with the team that they built. Sam Darnold's really come in and showed that last year wasn't a fluke. Like he's not necessarily just wowing you, but he's got a solid team around him, and he's coming out and he's playing super duper well. Like you said, got this team to 3-1 right now. But with the Cardinals, look, it was just like you said, a slow start. The first 3 quarters were virtually unwatchable football from this team. I know you and I were messaging back and forth. This is kind of what we thought might happen with the Cardinals, kind of just squeaking by in those first couple games. But I will say this: they dug deep. They had great resilience. They've just got to get going sooner. If this offense can get going sooner, I think they're going to be a problem because we've seen what they are at their best. But you can't take 3 quarters to get going every single game.
The good news for them, obviously, is they got the Tennessee Titans this week, who we're going to get to in a second about a certain situation there that could be unfolding. But the crazy part is talking about what the difference was with James Conner, leading rusher for the Cardinals in this game, Kyler Murray. So again, my only worry is they're going to end up having to be one-dimensional for a good bit of time until Trey Benson
Yeah.
gets back, and I worry about that hurting them against some teams. Seattle 3-1. This NFC West is all kinds of loaded. Talking about the teams at the top, 3 teams 3-1, Arizona at 2-2. Interesting game to end it on Thursday Night Football, no doubt. Now to the Sunday games. Let's jump in and talk real quickly about it here. Steelers beating the Vikings 24-21. Steelers getting to 3-1. Vikings dropping to 2-2. A game the Steelers completely dominated throughout. But somehow, some way they got let Minnesota get back into the game at the last minute. Minnesota and Carson Wentz had a chance late. Couldn't get it done. So the Steelers, despite their best efforts to lose all 4 games so far this season, they are a 3-1 football team. And talking about with Steelers, we're going to talk about the Ravens. Millions of injuries on the Ravens. The Bengals' performance as of late. The Browns' offense, especially with the news that we're going to get to in a second, talking about Dylan Gabriel. Give your thoughts on Minnesota, but also, would it be the biggest disappointment based on where we're at in the season if the Steelers are not winning this division?
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable kind of the way things are going right now with this AFC North. And look, it's just been a bunch of, really think about it, bad beats for some of these teams and injuries. And Cleveland being Cleveland. Um, but as far as Minnesota's concerned, another team that kind of got off to a slow start. But this defense is something else in Minnesota. And Brian Flores, look, shows why he's one of the best defensive coordinators in football again. I feel like it's week in and week out. You could really talk about the master class that Brian Flores puts on as a defensive play caller. But to be able to power back in this game was pretty incredible. Uh, Carson Wentz, what's gotten into you as of late? Look, he's not been like the greatest quarterback of all time, and he is still making mistakes. But if you watch last 5 minutes, Carson Wentz, you're kind of like, okay, I know I messaged you at one point after he threw that bomb to Jordan Addison on that busted coverage. I was like, are you kidding me? Like Carson Wentz in 2025 is dropping that bomb? It was honestly it was a fun game to watch for a game that was a blowout. I don't know, 6 minutes before that, it felt
Right.
like.
But yeah, it was an interesting game for the Steelers. I will say the Steelers' optimism thing is not for the Steelers, it's mainly for the AFC North. It's about like right here, like barely on camera. Their next two games are the Browns and the Bengals. If they get to 5-1 and the Ravens lose another game at some point between that, then this thing just keeps on rising more.
Yeah.
And let me just say it. It is not because I think the Steelers are a great team. Again, they really are winning these one score games, but in realism, they could be 0-4. They could very easily be an 0-4 team. But they're the healthiest team in the AFC North right now. So for that, they get to be in the top of the division. Other games we're going to point out here in the noon slate. Philly wins the battle of the unbeatens 31-25 over Tampa Bay. Congrats on your over winner, Mr. Austin Hill. Easy bet that I was confident was going to win after that block punt early on. But for the Eagles, got off to the 24-3 start early. Got up early, the blocked punt. But Baker and the Buccaneers responded. A couple of 70-yard touchdowns, one to Emeka Ibuka, one to Bucky Irving. And it was a one-score game late. And it felt like in my mind, oh my gosh, it's literally the same thing with Tampa Bay for the fourth straight week. But Eagles defense was a bit of the difference there, getting the stop late and then being able to control the clock the rest of the way. So a matchup of two teams where Tampa, with some of the turnovers and the special teams issues, kind of let them get behind and played catch up the rest of the way. But I think it's safe to say, at least in my mind, wouldn't be shocked if we saw this matchup again.
Yeah, this was a great game. And look, this is pretty much the exact script I wrote for this game. And when we talked about this and picked this game
I
last
remember,
week,
yeah.
I said I thought, Philly would win this game. And I thought it'd be one of these games where it'd be a shootout. It'd be close. Tampa would start to challenge there at the end in the final 2 minutes, but they'd meet the first defense this season and be able to shut them down. And like I said, and I still think this, I think this is going to be the point where we see Tampa start games better and start to win some games a little bit more dominantly coming out of this. They're going to realize, hey, we've been a great team. We've been a clutch team. And even in this game, to come from behind and get this close is a hats off. We did a great job out here. We were this close to winning another ball game. But now they realize we cannot just rely on being the best team in the last 2 minutes of the game, because that doesn't always win you the game. Now they realize that they're going to have to start games a little bit better, and they're going to have to start winning games a little bit bigger. So I'm kind of surprised how perfectly I kind of talked about this game last week, because it just kind of fell into place. But yeah, Philly looked good. This offense relying on Jalen Hurts. If you again ask the media, they think for some reason it's a question whether you need to or not. But clearly, Jalen Hurts rising up, ringing the bell. He's a Super Bowl MVP for a reason.
Yeah, and how about the fake tush push? Beautiful execution there by them. We're going to really, the only reason I'm talking about the game is to bring up the point. Lions beat the Browns 34-10. We're really not going to talk much about this game. Lions were clearly the better team. They dominated them. But the news that came out this week, Joe Flacco is being benched, and the rookie third-round pick, Dylan Gabriel, is going to get his first start against, oh, would you look at that, Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings defense in London. Thoughts on Cleveland making the change here? We kind of felt like with this QB room, there was going to be multiple QBs play, but thoughts on the move?
Look, I think the right move to start the season with this team was to start Joe Flacco. Obviously, that seemed like where their most confidence was. And if Joe Flacco does what he's done over the last couple of years and has your team winning football games, because he's an ageless wonder, then you just let him play as long as possible. But clearly, what we've seen here is not really getting the job done right now for their offense. They're not really getting it going the way they would have liked to. So make the change in the guard here. I like going to one of these rookie quarterbacks and leaning on them. I think they did the right thing. You believed in Dylan Gabriel enough to take him in the third round when Shedeur Sanders was still on the board. And even though you ended up drafting Shedeur in the fifth, that was your kind of confidence factor. And I think that should be the same decision-making process that comes into who gets the first crack at being our starting quarterback. You say, this is the guy we believed in. Man, maybe they don't believe in him more or less or whatever, but this is the guy we were more confident about when we picked in the third round. They had no knowledge that Shedeur Sanders was going to be in there in the third round. And I'm not saying it was just Shedeur Sanders and just Dylan Gabriel were the decision at with that third overall or that third round pick. But they Shedeur Sanders was there in the third round, and they didn't take him. They chose Dylan Gabriel. So I think using that logic here and letting him get the first crack is the right move. I'm tired of people talking about Dylan Gabriel this, Dylan Gabriel that.
Right.
Shut up. How many college football playoffs did Shedeur Sanders play in? Because I think it's less than Dylan Gabriel. Just asking for a friend, honestly. I'm just tired of the discourse. They're not comparable players. If you want to go off their college career, Dylan Gabriel's easily the better player in college. And if you want to go off what happened in the preseason, Dylan Gabriel had accuracy issues, and Shedeur Sanders got sacked for 20 plus yards 3 separate occasions. So neither of them's perfect. They're both rookie quarterbacks. You go with the guy that's better in college. You go with the guy you drafted higher. You go with the guy you believe in more. Dylan Gabriel's the right call here. If it doesn't work out, you got another rookie to try.
Exactly. Again, with this quarterback room, I think we knew it's a matter of when does one of the rookies get on the field, not a matter of if, it's when they get on the field with this QB room. I agree. I'm curious to see it. Again, my thing with what I've seen from Dylan Gabriel, and it was something in college, again, like you talked about, better player probably as a whole. Is he the kind of player, in all honesty, that we think maybe will elevate this team right away? Probably not. Let's just say it
Yeah,
like it is.
agreed.
Rarely does a rookie quarterback come in his first year and just flat out carry a team. You wonder why we were so impressed by what CJ Stroud did his rookie year. You wonder why we were so impressed by that. Because it
Yeah.
rarely happens like that. So, with it being against the Brian Flores defense, I really hope it goes well for him. I'm interested to see the game plan for it, but agree, a change needed to be made. Yes, they had won a game. They had yet to score more than 17 points in a game this year. So the
Yeah.
offense clearly was not working. Something needed to change. Let's give him a try, see what he can do here. All right. Talking about it really quick here. Last game, we already talked a little bit about Giants and Chargers with your biggest winner of the week. Let's add really quickly. Falcons being the Commanders 34-27 and Mariota's return to Atlanta. Falcons really had control of this game from the get-go. This is the Falcons offense I think we all envisioned whenever Michael Penix took over. Bijan, over 100 total plus yards, 300 plus passing yards, 2 touchdowns for Michael Penix. Receiving touchdown for Drake London. Receiving touchdown for Kyle Pitts. Getting everyone involved. This is what we envision for the Falcons. And despite the Falcons have the weirdest 2-2 season up to this point, probably. And so they're now at 2-2 here. Commanders, you just got to get Jane Daniels, Ben Terry McLaurin back. You get them back, you're going to be fine. But thoughts on this one and what we saw from Atlanta in this one?
Yeah, like you said, this is the Atlanta team we've kind of been waiting for. And this was a really good game for Michael Penix. We talked about it last week. He didn't look super good last
Mm.
week for the Falcons, in a game that they really should have won. So this week to see them coming out firing on all cylinders against a Commanders team who, even though it's missing two big pieces on offense, looked fantastic last week. Knew this was going to be a big game in deciding our NFC playoff picture. Two teams that are going to fight for spots in this postseason this coming year. So knowing you needed to get a big win, get the big edge, and for them to come out and both of those guys have career best nights, that's big against a team who you could potentially see in the postseason this year.
Yeah, I think so. Again, we'll see what Atlanta can do the rest of the way. It's again building consistency. Let's not forget, like you said, this was a team a week ago that got shut out 30-0 by the Panthers. And we're like, how the heck did that happen? So I definitely think that's something to keep an eye on. Afternoon games, let's just go ahead and dive into the big one. The Chiefs blowing out the Ravens 37-20 here was close early on, basically, and halfway through the second quarter on, it was all Chiefs in this game. The big thing, the big takeaway though, my goodness, the Ravens injury report is just completely off the rails here. For those of you who don't know exactly what I'm referring to here, the big news that came out number one, you were already without Kyle Van Noy, Travis Jones, and Matabike, their defensive tackle. It's now come out their star defensive tackle Matabike is out for the year with a neck injury. So there goes the trenches for you. Roquan Smith got injured in this game. He's out multiple weeks. Marlon Humphrey got out injured in this game. He's out multiple weeks. Ronnie Stanley got injured. He's most likely out multiple weeks. And then the big one, Lamar Jackson suffering the hamstring injury. From what I've heard from some stuff is I believe it's a hamstring strain that's going to keep him out 2 to 3 weeks. So he will probably miss this week against the Texans in their game. So I know for some people it's like it's a hamstring strain. Go out there and play. You'll be fine. For a normal quarterback, I could see that argument. But for someone like Lamar Jackson and the way he runs a lot, let's wait till he's 100% till he gets back there. But look, the Chiefs won this game basically by default because the Ravens entirely fell apart. So thoughts on where the Ravens are with whatever they have left of their roster at this point?
Yeah, I mean, look, they got hurt, and that certainly didn't help. But it did kind of feel like once they got down two scores early in this game, the life kind of drained
Yeah.
out of this Ravens team, and it's been a weird year for them. You know,
Yeah.
1-3 now.
Yeah.
It's just been a weird spot. Just they have not been able to rise to the occasion in these big games so far to start the season. And now with a lot of people injured, you worry if this might kind of start to slide out of control a little bit.
Yeah, talk about their next game. Their next game's against the Texans, so we'll see what that is. Then they play the Rams. Then they get a bye week and then play the Bears, who we're going to talk about in a second. Realistically, they could be looking at 2-5 coming out of that, or maybe even 1-6 if Lamar is out for all those games. I think he would be back potentially for that Bears game with the bye week. So we'll see about it with the Ravens. But again, you talk about 1-3. I don't think the Ravens lost their third game last year till end of October, I think, somewhere along there, if I remember correctly. I'd have to double check myself on that. But we'll see with the Ravens what they can do. Kind of like the Niners of the AFC. You're just hoping they got enough players that will make it to the stadium for your game, pretty
Yeah,
much. Other
agreed.
afternoon game we're going to talk about here that we didn't already mention because we talked about Jacksonville, San Francisco a bit. Rams ending the undefeated run of Indiana Jones and the Indianapolis Colts 27-20. Great game. All I got to say is this for this game. Awesome. Colts obviously played good. Daniel Jones had a couple of turnovers here and there. That being said, you had a big play for Donnie Mitchell. He looked like he's going to break away for a 70-yard touchdown, take the lead in this game. And while celebrating, the dude just drops the football. It's something we hadn't seen since last year when it was a problem with a lot of players. And hey, don't worry, it's not like the final score was a 7 point difference. Oh, it was a 7 point difference. So great game for two teams. Just some poor decisions by the Colts in this one. Thoughts on this game?
Look, I mean, look, we're gonna have this conversation every time a player loses the ball when they're celebrating. I love a good celebration and a good taunt on my way to the end zone as much as the next guy.
Right.
But what is paramount is having the ball in both of your hands as you cross the plane. Everything else is fair game. But if you're doing this and you're losing the football, or you're doing the Deshaun Jackson 100 times in my NFL career, I dropped the ball right before. How many times Deshaun Jackson? How many more touchdowns would Deshaun Jackson have in his career had he not dropped him on the goal line? He has dropped,
No
and it's always that same stupid arms behind me, drop
Yeah.
it. I love Deshaun Jackson, but how many more breakaway touchdowns would that dude have had in his career if he held on to the football for one more yard?
Yeah.
Again, I love a good taunt. When I'm playing college football 25, I'm taunting on my way into the end zone. I'm dancing, I'm celebrating when I get a breakaway touchdown. But hold on to the ball. Like you said, some mistakes, sure, from the Colts, but this is a 7 point game. And look, in some of these situations, you say you throw a costly interception in a bad spot, and had you gotten 7 points out of that drive, the game would have been different. This is literally a situation where we can say they should have had 7 points and instead they lost it. I hate to get into the hypothetical game too much and say,
Right.
oh, this decision directly cost you the game because there's so much more. But in this particular instance, this fumble, you can pretty bigly point your fingers to it because it took at least 6 points off the board.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. And then unfortunately, he had the holding after that. I will just be honest. I'll be honest for Donnie Mitchell. I really hope the guy gets more chances. I'm amazed he hasn't been cut yet. I'm just flat. I'm
Yeah.
just flat out being honest here. I'm amazed. And you know what the crazy part, Austin? You talked about with dropping the ball. Not the literally happened with the Colts last year with Jonathan Taylor against the Broncos. I'm like, dude, you literally watched your teammate make the same mistake last year. Why would you? But we already talked long enough about that. Let's add it really quickly here. Bears with a comeback win over the Raiders, 25-24. Great comeback win. I respect Ben Johnson for not wanting to just take that reporter's microphone at halftime and just fling it onto the field with how disrespectful she was to him in that interview with it. That's a totally off topic thing with it. But thoughts on the
Yeah.
game for the Bears, Austin? Honestly, 2 wins in a row after an 0-2 start.
I'm gonna say I saw a clip of it of that interview, and yeah, it like kind of took my breath away when she said that. I was like,
Like
I
she
was like
legit just
that.
walked up to like, your offense is doing really bad. He's like, yeah, I'm well aware. I'm well aware.
Yeah,
It's okay. So what are you
and
gonna do to
and
fix
well,
it? And it's like,
yeah, she was like, you need to change it. She said you need to change everything or something, and
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I was like, where do you get off? Like, I understand you're doing your job, but this didn't feel like just asking questions.
Yeah.
This it
To
it,
me,
it was
there's being
crazy.
like investigative, like journalism, like asking the questions. There's asking questions and flat out just being rude, and that was just flat
Yeah.
out being rude.
Yeah,
There's a difference there.
it felt a little disrespectful to me. I think his reaction was more than appropriate because I definitely would not have been that cool about it. Like
Oh,
I know
I
you
would have
can,
left mid interview. I'd have said I'm not continuing this, and I would have walked
yeah.
off.
I mean you can tell he's frustrated, but yeah, at least he stays and finishes the interview, and he never really raises his voice. He gets a little snarky with her, but I can promise you I would not have been that cool if somebody was being like that. But look, this is an awesome comeback. This is what the Chicago Bears hopefully are turning into a team. No quit in them. They're going to come out. They're going to fight all the way till the end. That was an awesome sequence. And finally, for me to just, I flipped over finally to the I can't even think of what it was, NFL Red Zone to
Right.
catch the end of this game because I was like, come on, we got a blowout in Kansas City. Flip it over to Chicago and let me see a close game. Maybe it's just because I'm a Bears fan. I want to see the Bears play, but we got a way better game on. Can we not flip
Right.
our coverage or something, or at least double screen it or something? So I had to flip over to NFL Red Zone to see it, but get in just in time to see the blocked field goal. Look, this team may have had enough chance had that field goal gone in to try and drive the field and get their own field goal. But awesome, so awesome to see a blocked field goal win the game, especially when you have the outside guy do it because you almost never see that anymore.
Yeah. I remember whenever I told you Bears started 0-2, and I said you all can sell your stocks in Ben Johnson if you want to. I'm gonna hang on to mine a little bit longer here. And now you got 2 wins in a row, entering the bye. There's a good bit of momentum here for the Bears entering the bye week. There's a lot that you like to see. Sunday Night Football, man, where do I even start with this game? Was the Micah Parsons return to Dallas? And we both could not have been more wrong about this game. 40-40 tie. First of all, let's just say Micah Parsons was really dealing with back problems most of the night, really didn't have much of an impact. Let me just say, this game, just like from a completely neutral position, was awesome to watch. It was an awesome game of back and forth offense. But let's say it like it is. I hate that we still have ties in the NFL. It amazes me how we still have ties in the year 2025 with this. Now, let me just say this for the Packers really quick, and then I'll let you have your point, obviously, for it. I feel like we, and mostly myself personally, might have crowned the Packers a little bit too early after the 2-0 start because we have seen the last 2 weeks. Hey, this team, they're good. They still got a little bit of flaws that they got to figure out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think maybe they've gotten a little too full of themselves coming into these games. These were two
Not
games
wrong.
with the way they started the season. It's like, hey, the two teams you got coming up next, and the Browns and the Cowboys, these should be easy games for you. You think about the Browns and the Browns coming back and winning, and then you see last week Chicago pretty much dismantled the Cowboys, and you think, hey, that's our division rival. We think we're better than them. We're going to come out and blow these guys out too. And then to come out with the 40-40 tie, yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Awesome for me. We beat the Cowboys. You tie with the Cowboys. I think wins better than a tie all day long. And you've lost to the Cleveland Browns, which we haven't done, at least yet. So so a little bit, it feels like a little bit of bragging rights, maybe heading in our direction. But my big thing here for Dallas is, hey, maybe this can get us going in the right direction. After some of the negatives we've had, we hang in there. And look, a draw's not great, but it's better than a loss, especially in a game a lot of people picked you against. I think this thing can start to get your momentum going, and make you say, "Hey, we hung around with the Packers, who a lot of people think is going to be one of the top teams in this NFC. Now we've shown what we are at our best, or not even at our best, because we don't have CeeDee Lamb. So we're now starting to maybe turn ourselves around and find a little momentum and get ourselves on the right track here earlier in the season. Only week 4." So I think this is a perfect opportunity to springboard into some more success.
Yeah, talking about to me, I'll be honest with you, they seem like they're going to be like the Bengals of this year, where I think we can probably bet the over in every Cowboys game and feel comfortable with it. It's just
Yeah.
whether or not they're going to be able to get the win and hold the opponent to that amount. So it was a tie again. Interesting game to say the least. Not even close to what we expected. Still a great game. I'm going to just recap the Monday Night Football games really quickly. We're just going to say them. Dolphins beat the Jets. You already hinted at the big story coming out of that game. Tyreek Hill, ladies and gentlemen, do not go watch the replay. I repeat, do not watch it unless you want to throw up because it is not a pretty sight.
No,
Basically,
it's not.
imagine your knee is facing the complete opposite way. That is essentially what happened to Tyreek Hill here. And then Broncos and Bengals. Here's a stat that I think will just summarize this game. I think is the best way to describe it. For those of you who didn't watch, it was a 28-3 win. Here's the stat: the Bengals so far this year, Austin, have 200 rushing yards as a team in 4 games. 200 rushing yards. For context, 24 players in the NFL currently have more than that on their own. I mean, and then as a team, they are averaging just 205.3 total yards per game. That is easily the worst mark in the NFL. But recapping the 2 games, I'll say it again, Austin, for the millionth time I've said it on here, fire Zach Taylor. We're getting back on the trend here. But again, I'm recapping the Monday Night Football games really quickly there.
Yeah, I actually really liked watching the Dolphins Jets game.
It was not a bad game.
Again, sucked to see Tyreek Hill get hurt. Just as it feels like, again, he's kind of finding his footing this season, and really the whole team finding their footing. Great challenge back by the Jets. Justin Fields looked awesome in this
That
game.
one that one rushing touchdown he had on 4th and 1, I think again, I can't say word for word, but in my house, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The thought that ran through my mind immediately is like, I hate that the Bears gave up on this guy. Look, don't get me wrong. I love Caleb Williams and what he's doing in Chicago. I think he's a great fit. He's a fun personality. He's doing a great job up there. But we just should have never been in the situation where we had to make that decision with how talented Justin Fields is. Uh, Great to watch him have some success. And yeah, I went to bed during this Bengals Broncos game. I couldn't
Same.
stomach it anymore. It was just not. It went from being really fun back and forth football game to big snooze fest blowout penalty fest. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, clean it up.
I forget how many total penalties there end up being in that game. Over 20 plus. I think Troy Aikman was talking about it's just flat out embarrassing for both teams.
Yeah, it was bad
It,
football. He said it.
it
It
was.
wasn't a good product, and he's right. It wasn't.
He's absolutely. That's the one thing I give Troy and Joe credit for. If they're not happy with it, they're gonna flat out tell you. That's the one thing I always give them respect for as
Yeah, they'll
broadcasters.
say
But
it.
the Justin Field stuff, I'm right there with you because I literally got to experience it last year. I'm like, why is this guy not the Steelers starting quarterback right now? Why is he not? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me. But that's it for week 4. Let's dive into week 5 here. First off, Thursday night football here. Going to get into some game picks. 3-1 Niners taking on the 3-1 Rams here. Again, the Niners dealing with all sorts of injury problems, still 3-1. I'm told Brock Purdy's still dealing with foot stuff. He might not be 100% for this game. He may play. Rams getting the big win against the Colts. One of these teams is going to be at least, whether depending on what happens in Seattle this week, at least tied for first in the NFC West after this game. Question is, Austin, who's that going to be?
Look, I think it's going to be a fun game. Great Thursday night game. Should definitely tune in. But I'm going to go with the healthy, firing on all cylinders, LA Rams, who were very, very close. I mean, we're talking about blocked field goal close away from being undefeated this season. They look like one of the best teams in the NFC. I'm going to ride with this Rams defense and everything they're doing right now. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team that I know is going to have 53 healthy players show up to the stadium. Pretty
Yeah.
pretty much to summarize here. I know that they will. Again, the Niners, they're good, but it's just the injuries again is the main thing, which again is the story of the Niners in the Shanahan era, if we're being honest. It's just okay, how many players getting injured this year? But that's it for the Thursday night. Let's dive into the Sunday action here. Be honest with you. There's only one game we're going to pick in this noon slate because this noon slate is just, ugh, I'll be honest with you. The one game in the noon slate, though, 2-2 Broncos heading to Philly to take on the Eagles, undefeated here. Look, Denver's 2-2. They've been considered a playoff team for a while. Can they get a big win here over the Eagles? We know how good this Denver defense is. We know how good this Philly defense is. Question is, Austin, can this Denver defense be enough to get a win on the road and upset the undefeated Eagles?
I think this defense will keep this game close, especially if Saquon Barkley can't get going like he hasn't been able to do thus far this season. And I think that the Broncos offense definitely gets a boost from how they played this past week. Hey, we start to find kind of click and get our groove going a little bit. But I still think Philly takes this. Just the way their defense, special teams, and offense plays in crunch time right now in these close games, even if the defense is giving up a bunch of points, even if the offense is having a slow start, they find a way to get it going. You see it, Jalen Hurts, the slow passing start a couple weeks ago. All of a sudden, he's slinging it, getting this team right back into the game. You think about the defense against the Rams a couple weeks ago. Hey, we're giving it up. They're driving to win the game. We finally get a stop, set them up for a field goal and block it. And then with last week, the charge back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the defense says, no, right here, it stops, and we win the game. So just the way this team plays so situationally, even if they're not having their best night, at the end of the game, they put their foot down. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I want to believe in the Broncos' chances. Like I said, I think the defense gives them a chance here, but I'm going to lean with the Eagles as well, mainly because I still, at points, I want to believe, I want to be a Bo Lever, for those of you who know that.
Yeah.
But I still have my question marks with him a little bit about, still worrying about the sophomore slump and not been the best start to the season for him as a whole. Best game probably the season was on Monday night, no doubt. But I want to see more consistency out of that before I pick them to win the game. Afternoon slate, we got two games we're going to look to pick at here. First one, 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to Seattle to take on the 3-1 Seahawks. This is a game that I think is a lot more intriguing than people thought it was going to be a couple weeks ago. Two teams, 3-1, a chance to really kind of separate yourself from the pack with some of the teams in the NFC. We thought that about Tampa Bay coming into this, Austin. I think we can both agree with that. But
Yeah.
Seattle with a chance in second year under Mike McDonald to make a statement. Who makes a statement and gets the 4-1 here?
I like the way the Seahawks are looking. I think this is the wrong week to be playing the Buccaneers. Like I said, I think this is the week this offense comes out big booming. they take advantage and they say, hey, we have got to come out here and we've got to have a better start and we've really got to start throttling teams. I think we see the best looking Buccaneers team we've seen all year for the whole game, and they win this game over Seattle.
Okay, yeah. Again, I want to go with Seattle, but like you said, I think they picked a bad. They just got a bad week to play Tampa Bay in this
Yeah.
offense. Again, I think you'll see a more rejuvenated Tampa team. I probably plan to put money bet 3.5 point underdog currently. I probably plan to put money on Tampa Bay in this game. We'll see how it goes. But again, I look forward to seeing which of these two teams can kind of assert themselves near the top of the NFC here. But I'm going to ride with Tampa Bay just like you. The other one, Chargers hosting the Commanders in this one, 325 on Fox. This one's interesting mainly due to the fact, again, I've heard Jane Nails is looking like he's going to play in this game finally for the Commanders. It looks like he'll be back. I haven't heard too much about Terry McLaurin, so I don't know for sure on him. But the Chargers, can they get back on track after the disappointing loss here to the Giants last week? And for the Commanders, listen, if you got Daniels back this week, you got to get back on track. You don't want to fall below 500 and having to play catch up for the wild cards spot the rest of the year. So, Commanders and Chargers, who do you got here?
I like the Chargers in this game. No disrespect to Washington, but I think the Chargers play with this edge after losing last week in a game. They probably really shouldn't have lost to the winless New York Giants. I think they come out a little bit more fired up. Washington, I think they'll have a good game, but if it's Jaden Daniels' first game back, I don't know. He'll be maybe a little bit rusty. Couple weeks off, trying to get back into that game flow. And even if it is Marcus Mariota in this game, also, I think we saw last week, even as good as Mariota is at leading this team in the big moments against the top teams, they really need Jaden Daniels. I think right now this is just, again, kind of maybe a bad week to be playing the Chargers and not be completely settled as the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is I love Jaden Daniels. Again, I loved him since he's played in since he came in as a rookie. Again, I've enjoyed watching him, obviously. But again, with it being his first start back, I have my worries here for them, so I'm going to agree. I'm going to pick the Chargers in this game. Again, I think the Commanders will figure out their stride. They just got to get everyone back on the field and healthy. If they can do that, they could get him and Terry McLaurin back on the field healthy. This is a team that can stack up wins against a lot of teams, and they'll be fine. Sunday Night Football. We got an AFC East showdown here, Austin. 4-0 Buffalo Bills hosting the 2-2 Patriots. Now, know what you're thinking? Probably like, what are you talking about this game? Prior to last week, I would have had my doubts about this game. But then, Austin, we saw the Patriots and Drake May probably play the best game of his career, drop 42 points against the Panthers. Patriots are a team some people look at as maybe a wild card team this year, someone that can maybe sneak in there. Taking on the juggernaut of the Bills. Who do you got on Sunday Night Football? Do we have a shocker of all shockers here?
I'll keep it short. I think it's Bills by 1,000. Look, I think New England looks great. I think they get their momentum back, but you're playing against the Panthers 42. I don't think it's as much of a challenge as it feels like against that team. I think Buffalo comes in. I think they'll play Buffalo close. I think they'll look good, but I like the Bills to win this game at home.
Yeah, if it was in Foxborough, there'd be a small part of me that's like, you know what? There might be a chance here for it. But in all honesty, I'll do probably similar to you. Patriots covered the spread, but the Bills are going to win the game. They're going to go to 5-0. Monday Night Football, one game this week, and it's a good one on Monday Night Football, especially based on what we've seen so far this year. 2-2 Chiefs heading to Jacksonville, heading to Duval to take on the 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, a team that really should be 4-0 if we're being honest here. Look, a chance for Jacksonville to kind of assert themselves and be like, yeah, we're here at 4-1. Whether you want us here or not, we're here. And the Chiefs, despite the 0-2 start, if they can get the win here, they're above 500 and they're right back on track to where they think they can be at the end of the year. So a fun matchup in the AFC on Monday Night Football. Which side are you leaning in this one?
Look, I think personally, Jacksonville's been good. They're playing good. I think they keep this game close. I don't think there's no chance they win this game. But we messed up as the NFL, and we've allowed the Chiefs to win another game. get back on track, find their footing. Unfortunately, I don't like our chances. I think Kansas City has gotten back into a rhythm, and I think we see the Kansas City Chiefs win this game, and we start to think, oh no, they're back.
Again, if you would have told me Chiefs are 2-2 and going into this game and winning, I'd be like, okay, fine. But is Xavier Worthy playing last week?
Yeah.
Was Xavier Worthy a factor in the game? Oh, he just led the team in receiving yards in his first game back. Um, yeah,
And he had that huge rush.
yeah. So he was back in the game. I think another week for him. I want to believe in Jacksonville. I really do. But like you said, there is a part of me that thinks, guys, the Chiefs, we should have let it. We should have had them at 0-3. The Giants should have had them at 0-3. We missed our
Yeah.
window. Now they're at 2-2. They're figuring things out. I unfortunately hate agreeing with you on every single pick, but we're absolutely right with your point here. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs just as well here. Again, like you said, I think they are like kind of like we're all like, well, freaking kidding me. We had our chance here, guys. We had our chance
Yeah.
to just bury them and we couldn't get it done. Way to go, Giants. Way to go, Ravens. You had your chances. Now, Jacksonville wins this game. Things get a little bit more interesting, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. Now, close it off. Let's hear about that bet of the week. Congrats on the win last week for you. I don't want to talk about Packers minus 6.5. I just don't. So, bet of the week for week 5 of the NFL. What do you have for us, Austin? You're on a roll lately, not just here, but in college football.
Yeah, I'm liking my odds. I'm just playing. I think I'm playing a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser. I'm thinking a little bit harder. Look, this week I think it's easy money. I can't believe they're underdogs in this game. Giants plus 1.5 against the Saints. Uh,
Mm,
I'm sorry, but the Saints? Give me the Giants to win that game outright. But I think with the plus money, you might be making a little bit more money taking the spread.
yeah, so I was about to say, so is this a guarantee money line pick? Or are we going to try
I
that?
said I'm not gonna go guarantee. I think
Okay.
it's a little too. I think it's a little too easy for guarantee. The Saints haven't won a football game.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know how they're our favorite in this game. But yeah, I'm trying to get back on track here, and I will just be flat out honest with you. I don't care what the spread is at. I know how good one team is way more than the other. Give me Lions minus 10.5 against the Bengals. The Lions are going to win this game by a
I.
lot of points.
You're
A
right. You're
lot
definitely
of
right.
points. Which means,
Definitely
ladies and
right.
gentlemen, you know exactly what's going to happen. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to somehow win this game. But
Jake
that's going to be
Browning
mine. Lions minus ten and
legacy
a half.
game.
Again, I just think talent level, coaching level, it is not even close. Lions will win this game easily by 11 or more points. But the question is, uh, please, I want to get a win. I want to get back on track. Please get this done for me, Lions. But that is going to do it for this NFL episode of the Bold Take podcast. Again, if you haven't, go give the college football episode a watch. We talk college football and MLB predictions on it. Speaking of, what is the score of Red Sox and Yankees as we speak? 3-3 game in the seventh. I think I'm going to be tuning into that as soon as we're getting done here. But that's going to do it for this episode. Go give college football episode a watch if you haven't. Thank you for watching with us. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wainer. We'll see you next week.